Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Hi, this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. If you're of the mindset that your life is predetermined by your genes and DNA, then stay tuned for this life-changing interview. Our guest today, Dr. Bruce Lipton, a former medical school professor and research scientist, is an internationally recognized leader in the new biology. His groundbreaking research can lead us to the belief that our bodies can be changed as we retrain our thinking. Dr. Lipton contends that our thoughts can activate changes in the activity of the cell membrane and therefore alter our health and life. Dr. Lipton is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief and Spontaneous Evolution. Good morning, Dr. Lipton.
Good morning, Joan. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks for joining us. Dr. Lipton, everything that I read in the book, The Biology of Belief, it makes so much sense to me, and I really hope that our listeners walk away with this knowledge that they can apply to their everyday life.
Well, this is the most exciting part of the evolution that we're all experiencing right now, and that is a return to self-empowerment.
Bruce, whenever we talk about genes and DNA, people get turned off. They think that this is going to be something so deep that they'll never be able to understand. So in very simplistic terms, how is it possible that on a physical level our thoughts can alter our life and health?
Well, it's actually wonderful because the basic research I did is understanding is it's extremely simplistic, and it basically was I was cloning stem cells back in 1967, about 44 years ago, so I was really way back there. Few people in the world knew what stem cells were. I put one stem cell in the Petri dish by itself. It would divide every 10 to 12 hours, so first there was one, and then there were 2, 4, 8, 16 cells, and over 2 weeks I get thousands of cells, and then here's what the experiment was. I would take this large plate with thousands of cells and split the population up into 3 different tissue culture dishes and provide 3 different culture media, which changed the chemistry a little bit of the culture medium in each of the 3 dishes. Now, the point about this is the cells were cloned, meaning all the cells in the Petri dish were genetically identical because they came from the same parent. Now, I put all these genetically identical cells into 3 Petri dishes, but I changed the environment ever so slightly in each dish. And in one dish, the cells form muscle. In the next dish, the cells form bone. In a third dish, the cells form fat cells. And if you ask the first major question, it says, well, what controls the fate of the cells? And it's so simple. The fact is this, well, they were all genetically identical. So the first thing is this, you can't say that they had different genes or different genes were responsible at that point. The only thing that was different was the environment, the culture medium is what the cells live in. Now you say, well, okay, that's interesting. What does that mean? I say, well, the environment controlled the genetics, the response of the cell to the environment. And then you go, well, that's nice, cells in a Petri dish, big deal. And then I go, wait, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself as a single person, that's a misperception because in truth, a human body is made out of about 70 trillion cells. The cells are the living entities. So when you say me, you're really saying a community of cells. But the way I would look at it, here's an interesting way, is your body is the equivalent of a skin-covered Petri dish because inside your skin is a culture of 50 trillion cells. So why is this relevant? Because whether the cells are in a plastic Petri dish or a skin-covered Petri dish, that doesn't make the difference. What makes the difference is what is the culture medium. And I say, well, in the Petri dish in the lab, I put the culture medium in. I say, what about in the human body? I say, the culture medium is called blood. Blood, the composition of the blood, the chemical composition of the blood, like the chemical composition of the culture medium in the plastic dishes, the chemical composition of the blood controls the genetics and fate of the cells in the body in exactly the same way that the culture medium controls the fate of the cells in the dish. Now it comes to the next level, and it says, well, what controls my blood chemistry? Where does this chemical difference occur in the blood? Because remember, chemical differences in the blood affect different genes. Well, it turns out it's the brain that releases the chemicals that control the genetic activity of the cells. The significance about that is as you change your perception of the world, you change the chemistry of the blood. Well, you can feel that in your body as you perceive the world. If you're angry, you have a whole different feeling about in your body than if you're feeling in love. What you're actually is that the mind perception of love, the mind perception of fear, let's say, is connected with a brain chemistry that changes. So if I open up my eyes and I'm in love, the chemistry that comes out of my brain includes things like dopamine, which is the pleasure chemical that you feel through your body, oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical that tries to keep you attached to where that source of that pleasure comes from. Then you're also releasing your body things like serotonin and growth hormones. Well, if I added those same chemicals to my Petri dish cells, they would start to exhibit exuberant growth and take care of themselves, maintenance of the cells, and the activity would increase the energy of the culture. And so basically I say, well, yeah, those same experiences that the cells have in a Petri dish that humans have. That's why when you fall in love, you feel so healthy. You have so much energy. Your biology is running great. And that is because when you're in love, the chemistry the brain releases is very supportive. And then in contrast, I say, well, if you all of a sudden become afraid of something, I say, oh, you release totally different chemicals. You no longer are releasing those pleasure chemicals and growth-supporting chemicals. You start releasing what are called stress hormones or inflammatory agents. And in a state of fear, you want to change the function of the body, very, very importantly, because in growth, you're sitting there just open, taking things in, assimilating life and growing. But in fear, you shut yourself down and protect yourself, and you get ready for fight or flight because you're protecting your life. That's the response to a fear perception. So the relevance about the fear is that what happens is the chemistry that comes into the body in fear shuts down the mechanisms of growth and shuts down the immune system to conserve energy to run away from whatever that threat is. So what's the point? The point is this. Our thoughts or perceptions about the world are translated into chemical secretions by the brain. The secretions go into the blood, which is the culture medium of the 50 trillion cells in my skin-covered Petri dish, and the composition of the culture medium now controls the genetics, and this is a new science. When I first was doing research on this 40 years ago, this was not a scientific field. There was no awareness of it. But in today's world, in the last 10 years especially, this is the basis of a new science, how the environmental chemicals control the genetic activity, and rather than the genes controlling the chemistry, it's the chemistry that controls the genes. Why is this relevant? You change the chemistry by changing your perceptions, and when you change your perceptions, you change your genetic activity. And all of a sudden, why is this important? And it simply comes down to when I was teaching in medical school while doing this research, I was teaching something called genetic determinism. Your genes control your traits. Now, science doesn't really go there anymore, but the public is still getting the same old story that, oh, the genes control this and the genes control that. And it's like, that is a fake understanding. That is not true at all, because genes don't control anything. Genes are blueprints. It's the chemistry of the environment that selects the blueprints. And now we find that same chemistry of the environment not can only select the gene blueprint, it can modify the readout of a gene. And in fact, the way you respond to the environment, which results in the chemistry in your blood, that differential in chemistry can take one gene, which is a blueprint, and create 30,000 variations of products from the same gene blueprint. Point, I was teaching something called genetic determinism, genes control your life. That's victimization. That's what we were teaching people. You're a victim of your genes. You didn't pick them. You can't change them, and they control your life, and therefore, your heredity is really controlling the unfolding of your own life. And the new science completely goes the other way around and says, no, you can change the genes, which ones you have. You can change how they're expressed. You can change the readout of these genes, all by changing your perceptions and responses to the environment. And so the new science is mastery of your biology.
Well, it's wonderful that it's important to go out and greet the world with a smile and to always try to look at the positive side of things. But this happens on a much deeper subconscious level, doesn't it?
Well, that's the big issue. The first thing is we think we're running our lives with our conscious minds, and those are that mind is the important one personally, because that's the one that has our identity, our spirit, our source. We are, by definition, like the emanation of the conscious mind. So we say, well, my wishes of my conscious mind, I want to be healthy, I want to have a great relationship, I want a great job. These are the wishes and desires and activity that's promoted by the conscious mind. But now we find out that science has revealed that we only operate our lives only about 5% of the time from the conscious mind. 95% of our behavior is unconsciously controlled by habits or programs that we download into the subconscious mind. So which mind is controlling the chemistry of the body? And the answer is 5% of the time you create it with your conscious mind, and 95% of the time you are creating it from the programs that you acquired in your subconscious mind. And here's where the problem comes from. The fundamental programs in the subconscious mind were downloaded into our brains during the first 6 years of our lives. And this was a consequence of how the brain was operating. You can't be conscious, creative, unless you have data. So basically, consciousness in a human doesn't even really become a predominant brain activity, and that's measured by EEG, until after 6 years of age. First 6 years is download. That's where you get data. Then your consciousness uses the experiences and download and data to formulate how it's going to create a life. Well, here's the point. The fundamental beliefs then in the subconscious mind are not even ours. They come from other people. They operate unconsciously. That's why it's called subconscious. We're not even aware of it when we're doing it. And they control 95% of our lives. So are we living the lives that we want? And the answer is actually not really at all, because we're only controlling it 5% of the time to move that way. 95% is the behaviors and beliefs that we acquire during the first 6 years of our lives, playing out as habits and manifesting a life based on those beliefs, not on our creativity. But John, I have to tell you something very exciting, because you might say, well, what would happen if I was able to create my life with just my conscious mind instead of using the programs in my subconscious mind as the default? And the answer is, actually the subject of the new book I'm writing is called The Honeymoon Effect. When you fall deeply in love with somebody and you experience what I call a honeymoon, that's a period of life when you go back to it, you find that you were the healthiest you ever were in your life. You had more energy to spend on life than you could ever imagine. That life was so beautiful in that honeymoon. You couldn't wait for the next day because you were just so excited about living in this life. And then what I want people to recognize is the honeymoon, the equivalent of having heaven on earth, which most all of us have experienced for some period of time, unfortunately for short periods of time. The significance about the honeymoon is it represented one of the first times in your life where you absolutely operate from the conscious mind and do not rely on the subconscious programs. And what does that mean? It says, if you were living by the beliefs in your conscious mind, your life would be a honeymoon all the time. But we are living unconsciously by the programs we acquired in the first 6 years from our parents, our family, our community, and those are the fundamental programs in the subconscious, and 95% of the day we operate from that. That's why the concept of being mindful or Buddhist mindfulness or being present, this is always suggested to people for a simple reason. When you keep your conscious mind on the present moment, your decisions come from your conscious creative mind. But when your conscious mind is wandering, which it does 95% of the time, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, resolving how you work out some problem. So if the conscious mind is doing all these other activities, by definition, that's why the subconscious mind is running the show 95% of the time, because our conscious mind is not being present. So those people that talk about the exercises of mindfulness or being present are really saying, look, if you use that trait, you actually, when you did use it before as a way of life, you created the honeymoon. That's how, if we all lived in that state of mind, with those beliefs that we cherish like that, then this planet would turn from this strife-ridden Armageddon place into the Garden of Eden. And this is an awareness that's coming into the public right now. And as a result of this awareness coming into the public, that we are not victims of our genes, that we can change our genetics and our behavior based on our conscious desires rather than live by the subconscious programming. When people understand this, take the responsibility to live this way, then that nature of what was called the honeymoon becomes something you can fulfill for every day of your life, and we should live to easily be 140 according to current biology. So imagine the concept of growing up on this planet with the beliefs of our conscious wishes and desires actually driving our lives rather than the programs of others, and this place would turn into heaven.
Bruce, we're going to let our listeners think about that for a moment while we take a break for today's healthy living tip. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Sapienza, board-certified chiropractic physician and director of Mecca Integrated Medical Center located in Fairfield, New Jersey. Are you or anyone you know suffering from headaches? At this time, there are 50 million people in the United States suffering from headaches. 12 million suffer from chronic headaches on a daily basis. Studies have identified several triggers of headaches, including strong scents such as perfumes or paint fumes, skipping meals which lowers the blood sugar, cold cuts and other processed foods that contain nitrates, cheeses, especially the aged ones like blue cheese, cheddar, and brie, red wine, caffeine, and stress. We want to avoid these triggers to decrease the risk of acquiring headaches. Some proactive lifestyle choices we can make to also decrease the risk of headaches include more water intake, exercise, proper diet, proper sleep, and improved posture. A report released in 2001 by the researchers at Duke University found that spinal manipulations resulted in almost immediate improvement for those headaches that originate in the neck and had significantly less side effects and longer-lasting relief of tension-type headaches than a commonly prescribed medication. Mecca Integrated Medical Center specializes in comprehensive, state-of-the-art, non-surgical treatment of back and neck pain. If you or someone you know would like a complimentary headache analysis in consultation with one of our doctors or simply like some more information, please contact my office at 973-943-4300 or on the web at www.meccamedical.com.
Cetus Home Care Services is a non-medical home care company that assists you in caring for your loved one. Their trained caregivers provide the peace of mind that is important to you. Whether at home, in a nursing home, or an assisted living community, Cetus will help your loved one live a dignified, independent lifestyle. Cetus Home Care Services and professionals are as diversified as their clients. Call Cetus for more information, 973-746-0165, or visit cetushomecare.com.
Change your attitude, change your life in big, believe, inspire, grow. Salute the entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners, people who follow a dream, work hard, and make it happen. This week's Spotlight on the First Look Image Consulting is brought to you by VMM Benefits, a voluntary benefit specialist. Call VMM at 201-697-0203. Personal style is a subtle but very powerful tool for changing your life. Certain colors call attention to yourself. Accessories and patterns announce whether you're dramatic, traditional, or even if you're passionate about a certain cause. The clothes you wear can represent a visual image of the change you'd like to make, and when you boldly show the world what you want to change, change happens faster and easier. Carrie Cordero, certified image consultant, personal stylist, and founder of the First Look Image Consulting, can show you the way. Carrie teaches her clients how to wear clothes that are balanced, flattering, and complimentary, and that express who they really want to be. She's fun to work with and filled with great energy. Use your clothes to change your life. For more information, visit thefirstlookimage.com.
Health insurance costs have risen at an alarming rate. At the same time, coverage choices have narrowed. Supplemental insurance provides an employer with the opportunity to enhance its current health plan without adding cost or administration. From accidents to catastrophic illness to intensive care to unexpected death, VMN Benefits has the plan to meet your needs. Call VMN Benefits at 201-697-0203 to learn more about supplemental insurance. VMN Benefits, providing peace of mind for your employees.
Hi, I'm Judy Schumacher-Tilton, owner of Schumacher Chevrolet in Little Falls. We have been in business for 78 years and are part of the new GM. Please stop by and see our complete line of beautiful fuel-efficient vehicles. Our dealership has built a reputation on providing courteous, honest service. We are family-owned and operated. Come join the family. Call Schumacher Chevrolet at 973-256-1065. That's 973-256-1065. Or visit schumacherchevy.com.
Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and our guest today is Dr. Bruce Lipton, former medical school professor and research scientist. Dr. Lipton is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief and Spontaneous Evolution. Bruce, before break, we were talking about our subconscious versus our conscious mind, and I want to touch upon a quote that was in your book, because I think today we have become such a society of quick fixes and just pop a pill to make things better. And this is what you wrote in the book, The Biology of Belief. Because we are not powerless biochemical machines, popping a pill every time we are mentally or physically out of tune is not the answer. Drugs and surgery are powerful tools when they are not overused, but the notion of simple drug fixes is fundamentally flawed. Every time a drug is introduced into the body to correct function A, it inevitably throws off function B, C, or D. It is not gene-directed hormones and neurotransmitters that control our bodies and our minds. Our beliefs control our bodies, our minds, and thus our lives. Bruce, why do you think it is? Are we so lazy today that we just need a quick fix? Do we want to avoid that hard work at any cost?
Well, there's two issues right there with that statement, Joan. And number one is this, is that we go to the quick fix because we've been programmed to believe that's the resource. That's just simply it. It's like, this is the way we do it. You've been programmed since you were an infant that if there's anything wrong with you, we go to the doctor. Well, this kind of belief system, which becomes a subconscious program, manifests. Remember, the programs create our lives. Well, the belief is the doctor is the one that manages your health, meaning basically your mind has an understanding that if you want to know about your life and how it works, you don't make up the answers. You get them from the doctor. So basically, if the doctor is the one that says, this is the pill that fixes you, then that conforms to the belief system that's built into almost everybody that, oh, this is what the doctor said, this is what I should do. And it turns out this is the doctors, the education of doctors is flawed. It has been flawed because of the new understanding. Now, it was the best they could do at the time, but science has moved on with new beliefs, and yet we're still operating from the old beliefs. And it's an unfortunate situation because the concept of this new genetic control, which is called epigenetics, where the environment controls the genetics, has been known for quite a time now. I would say, professionally, the field has been recognized for at least 15 years, and yet we find it doesn't really come out in the public, and it's an unfortunate situation because the health industry, this is not the medical doctors, this is the health industry, which includes primarily the pharmaceutical industry, does not want you to stop taking pills. And so basically it inhibits this information from coming into the public because they pretty much have a lot of money to do that. And so we're missing that out. And the issue is it's an education thing. We've been, turn on the television. It doesn't tell you to do anything for yourself. It just says take the pill. Basically, that's the education that we have. We have to change that. The second part of that statement, which I just want to draw attention to, is that we've also acquired a belief that change is difficult and change is hard. That's a belief that if you ask almost anybody is like about making changes, they almost automatically will all say the same thing. And I want people to know that's a belief because, and remember, this is very important. The mind runs the program. If the mind says that change is difficult, then by that definition, if you are going to engage in change, then according to the programs of the mind which run the system, it's not going to make change easy for you because the first thing you said, change is difficult. It would surprise the system if all of a sudden with a whole belief that change is difficult, that no, change is, can be very quick. And in fact, this is what I enjoy because there are new processes that reveal we can change these belief systems relatively quickly, with minutes, in fact, versus days, years, months, or whatever. And this is really very exciting because these new forms of belief modifications, which collectively you might ascribe to as energy psychology, are very, very significant opportunities to change old limiting, disempowering programs very quickly. And this is what the mission of people is really, I believe, the path that we all have to go on, because we have been programmed to be victims, and that's not true. But the belief becomes true. If you believe you're a victim, you become a victim. If you believe this pill is going to heal you, you heal yourself, but later you find the pill was only a sugar pill. That's the placebo effect. And basically that's the true example of exactly how this thing works. It works if you believe it. It wasn't the pill that healed you, it was the belief that healed you. And while we always talk about the placebo effect, and the nature of, that was, a very positive belief about this process or whatever, that positive belief is what created the healing. Most people are unaware of and should be fully aware of something called the nocebo effect. The placebo effect is how a positive thought about this process will promote a healing. A nocebo effect is where the belief is negative, where this is not going to happen, where this will make things worse, or whatever that belief is. So that, for example, they gave a group of patients chemotherapy, split them into two groups, and gave one group just saline solution. They didn't give them the chemotherapy, but they believed they were getting chemotherapy. 1/3 of those people lost their hair, had all the digestive problems associated with chemotherapy, every aspect of chemotherapy, and yet they got saline solution. So as much as 1/3 of all test groups get healed because of the placebo effect, 1/3 of all test groups are inhibited from healing just because of the negative belief called the nocebo effect. And that's what I want people to understand. Disempowering beliefs are equally powerful to the positive effect of a placebo, but they work in the opposite direction. It's not placebo versus nocebo. It's really the power of belief, with positive beliefs moving you into a more healthy range and negative beliefs taking you away from that healthy range. Let's go back to what we said earlier. Only 5% of our life is controlled by the conscious mind. That's the creative mind. That's the one that holds the positive thought. So you say, yes, I'm exercising positive belief here, and it's not working. And I'm going, well, because your conscious mind's generally only working about 5% of the time. So 95% of the time you're operating from the still more powerful negative belief at this moment. So it's not that positive beliefs don't work. They work if you stay in a conscious state of mind, like the honeymoon effect.
Bruce, I can't believe we're out of time. This is probably one of the fastest interviews I've ever conducted. Where can our listeners go to get more information about you and your work?
Yeah, very simple, brucelipton.com. Lots of free articles about what I'm talking about and resource pages to see where to go with some of the new ideas and stuff like that. So it's a great source of information, brucelipton.com.
And as always, our listeners can visit our website at cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows as podcasts, read the digital magazine, and sign up for our mailing list. Bruce, I have so much more information I wanted to cover with you. We're definitely going to have to get you back here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really want to thank the audience because they're part of looking for new answers in a time of crisis. And this is what evolution is all about. We're going to see a new way to live here. And you're providing an opportunity for people to experience that. So I thank you, Joan. Thank you very much.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.